Hello again, I'm Nick Markey, Beach Barbell Physical Therapy and Gym here in Wilmington. I want to thank you again for joining me today. We've been talking about choices and behavior. First day we talked about, just the broad overview of choices and the factors that go into them. Then we talked about the readiness for change and how to help someone move forward there. And then today I want to talk about environmental factors around the choices we make. Environmental factors involves certainly how the environment is set up. So what's in your community, your friends, your family, the people you interact with day to day, just the actual physical structure of your environment, sort of the things outside of your control, so to speak. So for instance, if again we're talking about choosing between eating something healthier like a lean protein like chicken or something with fruits and vegetables for a meal, or going to a fast food restaurant, the environmental factor would be, where's that fast food restaurant located? Where is this healthier meal located? Probably at home. Is this fast food restaurant on your drive home from work? Is that a convenient drive? Is it convenient to turn in there? How quick is this restaurant? Some are quicker than others. Those kind of things. So if we talk about how we can adjust the environment to help us choose hopefully better choices, you could consider something like, if I take a different route for work that maybe is just a little bit longer, do I avoid driving by a place that maybe would normally get me to pull in and buy something that perhaps has a little bit more calories than I need, if my goal is certainly maintaining my weight or trying to lose weight? If I take a different route, perhaps it'll be more inconvenient for me to go to the place that I normally would go to on the pinch. If I set up my things at home in terms of ease of getting to the healthy food I want, so perhaps I have already purchased the food and it's already made up and I just have to warm it up, so it's going to take a few minutes. I've already set up my environment at home to be easier to make that choice. So if you combined those two things, I've made it a little bit harder to go get the higher calorie meal that I maybe don't need, and I made it a little easier to get the higher fiber and protein meal that I'm trying to choose more often than not. There's also the people that you interact with. Are they supportive and encouraging towards what you are trying to do, whatever that particular goal is that you're striving for? So obviously we have the New Year's coming up. A lot of people's goals are to get in better shape, lose weight. That's a very common goal. Oftentimes, unfortunately, people are not successful in this goal, and part of that might be how their environment is set up around them. That would be something to think about and address if this is a goal of yours coming into the new year. Perhaps starting now, setting up your environment in a more conducive way to reaching those goals. And maybe that could be your beginning goal before you try to do this healthier choice, exercise and changing your diet. Maybe setting up the environment to be successful towards that end. So if, let's say, you're not someone that will exercise on your own, you need to go to a gym, maybe you need to go to a place that will just tell you what to do so you don't have to think about it. That might be a way of setting up your environment for greater success, right? Because then it'll be maybe easier for you to go and do it because you don't have to think about what you're going to do, and then kind of remove that hurdle that maybe normally gets in someone's way in terms of the exercise. And then the same thing with the nutrition. Maybe you start talking to your friends and family about this, sort of get an idea of who's on your side or encouraging about this. Talk to them maybe more. You know, these could be friends or families or people you interact with day to day, you know, acquaintances or colleagues at work. You know, maybe talk to other people who are searching for similar goals, and then start spending more time with them. So you guys are all going to perhaps feed off of each other in terms of motivation and encouragement. Start looking at your day-to-day life. You know, what are you seeing throughout your day? You know, what areas do you start to see cravings? Like, again, if you're driving a certain route home from work, do you start to get that craving? If you can perhaps find a way to mitigate that by maybe taking a different route. It could even be, say that there's a three-lane street, and the place you normally want to go to is on the right-hand side, so kind of easy to turn in if you're on that right lane. Maybe you purposefully drive all the way into the left lane, so it would take you getting over a couple of lanes to get into that fast food place. That little thing might be enough that helps you make it harder to want to pull into that fast food restaurant. And you can say the same thing if maybe it's on the left-hand side, maybe you drive all the way on the right lane again. So obviously if this is a 2-lane road, then that doesn't really apply, but just think of things like that. Or what if I took the earlier stop sign and cut around, and then I don't really drive by the place that I would normally maybe have a craving to go stop in and eat in. So, and I don't want you to feel like you have to avoid everything, but unfortunately, willpower is fleeting. And when you're tired and you're driving home from work, it can be very easy to succumb to a craving, right? Because that's sort of like a comfort food oftentimes. So another environment setup would be what you have set up at home. Like we talked about, maybe having some meals already prepped. You know, basically you just have to heat them up, so it's only going to take a few minutes, as opposed to having to cook a whole meal that's going to take 20 to 30 minutes to cook when you get home. Not that that's a ton of time, but that could be enough of a hurdle to make you not want to choose that, and then make you want to instead pull into somewhere to buy something really fast. So again, if the food is already prepped and you just have to kind of grab everything you want in that particular meal and just warm up whatever needs to be warmed up, you know, it takes you just a few minutes, that might be a good setup for your environment for you to just keep going home to eat that meal. Another thing to consider is what you have stocked at home, you know, the actual food at home. So if there's a certain food that you have trouble with, right? We all have those cravings foods, you know, Ritz crackers, Oreos, whatever, right? There's high calorie, very good tasting foods. You know, maybe that's something you just don't buy anymore. You don't stock it, because you know if you already bought it and it's sitting in your pantry, you might be more likely to want to go and eat it. But if you just don't have it in the pantry or at home at all, it's going to be that much harder to go for it, because then you'd have to drive to the store again and then buy it. So perhaps purposely don't buy those things. Another strategy would be when you do go for your maybe weekly or semi-weekly grocery shopping, perhaps you eat a meal not too far before it, you know, maybe half an hour before it, that you fill up on a lot of fiber and some protein so that you're really full. And then when you're walking around the store, again, you're not going to buy the things because you're not going to be necessarily craving because you're already full. So start thinking about your environment leading up into the new year. I'd say if you have a goal of getting in shape and losing weight potentially for the new year, then I would start now in terms of prepping, and maybe even start with your journey. I always recommend starting with the exercise portion first and then getting that habit down. And like we talked about, if you're trying to set up your environment for that, whether you're going to exercise at home, are you going to walk around your area? Are you going to do some resistance exercises in your house? Are you not the kind of person that will do it at home because just maybe it's too chaotic and you just can't get in the right headspace to do it at home? Start looking at if there's maybe a place you can exercise out in your community that's convenient to you. Maybe it's on your way home from work, on your way towards work. Maybe it's right near your work so you can go there in the middle of the day. Find something that's going to be easy to go to. And then with that, is it something where you just go do it on your own? Some people can do okay with that. A lot of people don't. Most gyms are filled with, or most gyms have a ton of members that don't actually go, okay? So obviously those people could go and work out, but they're not. So if you need to, you might need to find a place that actually has some sort of setup class or group or even just personal training, something that's gonna make it easy for you to do this. Maybe you won't need that forever, but you might need it to at least get started and at least build the habit. So start thinking about how you can set up your environment to make it easier to make the choices you want to choose. So let's say if we're talking about just you're getting in shape and your diet, so what's going to make it easier for you to go exercise in your day-to-day life? What's going to make it easier to eat, more fiber, a little bit more protein, and a little bit less of those ultra high calorie foods? So start looking at your environment, including just how everything's set up around you, your routes, your actual physical spaces that you interact in, as well as the people in your environment, and who seems to be encouraging, who's maybe not as encouraging, and start to spend more time in the spaces that move you towards those healthier choices that you're trying to make, and spend more time around the people who encourage you towards those healthier choices. You're going to be a lot more successful in the long run, because frankly it's going to be probably 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back for a while until you really develop a good habit. And we're never truly done. You always kind of have to work at it, because we all deal with stress and changes in life that can push us towards those easier comfort foods, because they're really easy to get, can push us away from exercising regularly if it's not built into our day already. So I want to thank you again for joining me today. Sorry I went a little longer today, just a little over 13 minutes, but I really appreciate your time, and hopefully you start thinking about what you need to do for your New Year's goals. And again, I'm Nick Markey, Beach Barbell Physical Therapy and Gym here in Wilmington. I will see you next time. Thank you.